Licorice Fields at Pontefract. This poem goes really quite well with a subaltern's love song. And it's really about the same kind of thing, in that the speaker is enslaved by this redhead, rather like Joan Hunter Dunn. He just seems to have a thing for redheads, and he makes fun of his infatuation with her, and there are lots of images of her strength and power, and the fact that he feels diminished by her, he feels weakened by his love for her, and so on. Very, very similar ideas, except that also with this poem we've got the kind of the idea of the green world, that these licorice fields are a retreat from life's pressures and the urban environment of Pontefract. And he escapes from this urban environment into the freedom of the natural world. So rather like Slough and Upper Lambourne, this is a comedic poem where the setting is quite important. Pontefract is in West Yorkshire. In the licorice fields at Pontefract my love and I did meet, and many a burdened licorice bush was blooming round our feet. Red hair she had and golden skin, her sulky lips were shaped for sin, her sturdy legs were flannel slacked, the strongest legs in Pontefract. First thing I notice about this poem is the form. It kind of it mimics the ballad form, which is kind of a traditional kind of poetry, where there was a story told, and it was quite often about love, unrequited love, and the form is really very simple, very consistent rhyme and rather galloping rhythm. And the pace, notice that the pace quickens towards the final lines, and this happens in each stanza. So the pace definitely quickens, and it's perhaps, I don't know, you get the feeling perhaps it's mirroring his sort of youthful passion during this romantic encounter, his heart quickening, his breathing quickening, if you like. But you notice that we've got nature full and overflowing, reflecting the fullness of their youth. We've got blooming, nature's sort of blooming, burdened licorice bush. In other words, it's full with flowers. So it's a traditional kind of idyllic rural setting, as a sort of a setting for a romantic story. And there are some humorous details as well. It seems rather incongruous. We've got kind of her strong and sturdy legs, the strongest legs in Pontefract, and the fact that she's flannel slacked. It's quite unballad-like. So you've got the kind of ballad form that he's imitating here, and then we've got some quite sort of funny details as well, like her strong legs, and her very unballad-like clothing. The sulky lips were shaped for sin. So some really humorous details there, hinting at a sexual encounter. So let's move this up a bit so we can see the second and third verse. The light and dangling licorice flowers gave off the sweetest smells. Again, you've got nature full and overflowing. From various black Victorian towers, the Sunday evening bells came pealing over dales and hills and tanneries and silent mills and lowly streets where country stops and little shuttered corner shops. So this is a day of rest, and the speaker can delight in the sweet smells of the licorice fields, and we've got a real feeling of the natural beauty of this place. which is in direct contrast to the urban images of the mills and the tanneries and the shops. Moving on to the last verse, she cast her blazing eyes on me and plucked a liqorice leaf. I was her captive slave and she my red-haired robber chief. O love, for love I could not speak, it left me winded, wilting, weak, and held in brown arms strong and bare, and wound with flaming ropes of hair. Lots going on in this particular image. Got the passion, sort of conventional language of love, blazing eyes, captive slave, robber chief. I mean, it's almost sort of exaggerated to the point of it being really rather comic and silly. But he's emphasising his obsession with her and the fact that being with her, being in love with her, left him feeling winded, wilting and weak. We've got the alliteration there that lends impact to this line. And rather, have a look at the rhymes here. And held in brown arms strong and bare, and wound with flaming ropes of hair. I mean, it's all really rather shrouded in sort of ambiguous images, but there's definitely some hints of sort of, entangled ropes, tied, bare flesh and so on, and flaming, blazing, lots of passion going on. So it's all rather euphemistic and rather sort of vague and shrouded in these sort of rather flowery language. But there's some definite hints of passion and sexual experience. So what are the comic devices that he uses in this poem? Well, we've got the kind of use of hyperbole, that exaggerated language, particularly in verse 3 that we've just read. And I guess we've got stereotyping, sort of, the redhead, the passionate redhead. And we've got the mimicking of the ballad form, those traditional stories of love, and he gives it a kind of a modern, rather comic twist with some of the comic details, the humorous details here.